Welcome to Unexpectedly Successful. Join us to hear the raw and genuine stories of women founders who have created their own pathways to possibilities.
Welcome back to another episode of Unexpectedly Successful. Your host, Griselda Martinez here. And today I'm super excited to have an amazing guest speaker here with me who is not only a therapist for over 20 years, owning her own practice for over 4 years. She is a coach. She is an author of multiple books and workbooks and ebooks. And I asked her, what are you most proud of? And she said, my resilience, my ability to overcome fears and challenges. And I am so excited to welcome Shalonda Allison to the podcast. How are you doing, Shalanda?
I'm good. I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me here.
I am so excited to dig into your journey of entrepreneurship and business ownership through the very diverse background you have. And so, Shalanda, tell us a little bit about your business, all the pieces, the books, all the coaching, the therapy, where your niches are, all this good stuff.
I am the proud owner of God and Light Therapy Center and God and Light Therapy Services and Lighthouse Coaching and Connection. So with that being said, God and Light Therapy Center, I have a contract with the state of Indiana with the Department of Child Services. And this contract helps children who are removed from their parents. And we're working on reunification, parenting, supervised visits, therapy, home-based case management, tutoring, behavior management. So we do all of those things. And I have a staff of about close to 10 people that work with me and help me with that. And then I have God and Light Therapy Services, which is my private practice, which I've been doing the contract for about 4 years, 4 years, and the private practice for about 4 years. I used to do school-based therapy, and then I just started doing my own private practice. And then I had the pleasure of taking a coaching class where I met some amazing people, hint, hint. And in that coaching class, I got certification and I became one of the senior coaches for the Daniels coaching group. And then I started my own coaching business, which I've been doing now for just about a year. So the coaching part is really new, but I love it. I really get excited about it because I get to help just individuals, business owners, aspiring business owners, coaches, therapists, whoever, with just really gaining clarity, finding purpose, identifying their niche, their target audience, and getting them where they can see, this is where I am, this is where I'm trying to go. How can you get me there? So I really enjoyed that process a lot.
I love it. I love it. So you did not mention the books. What about author, Shalanda? Tell us about how you got just a little bit, and then we can dig into the details. But let's not forget you're an author, multiple books.
Yes, yes. And who knew I was an author, right? I was, again, blessed to be in a coaching program. And one of the ladies said, hey, I think we should get together and create something and just do a chapter a piece. Just you could put about anything, but just something that we kind of gained or learned just from being a part of this program. And so we created a title, a memory, a moment, a message from the coach's desk. And my chapter was on fear. When did you first fall in love with fear? And I didn't know what I was going to write about because I'm like, I'm not an author. And I started writing and I was like, okay, maybe I'm a little bit of an author. And I was like, I want to express fear and how it's impacted my life and how it's preventing me from being where I should be. It's held me back, and how now I'm trying to live a life that overcomes that and does not allow that to take over. So that was my chapter in that book. And I'm a parent of an adult son. And so I became passionate about working with other parents of adult children because I started realizing, like, there's what to do when you're expecting, and then there's like the terrible twos, and then it's like, oh, when they're teenagers and their hormones are raging. But when they become an adult, it's like, okay, what do we do now? Because our roles have switched. We're no longer the CEO. We're more like a coworker with them. They want their own independence. We no longer dictate and control their decisions. And that's hard for a parent when you've done that for so many years to switch roles. So we oftentimes find ourselves walking on eggshells or not knowing what to say, when to say it, how to say it. So since those were things I was dealing with my own adult son, I thought, I bet other people are dealing with this. And so my guided journal for parents was birthed out of that. I started having conversations and doing therapy sessions and coaching sessions. And I was at a family function, and something, it's like God just told me take a notebook. I took a notebook and I said, I'm just gonna pull this out. And they're gonna be like, because I'm the one that does all the games, I'm the hospitality queen. So they probably thought I was gonna do a game. And I said, I just want to get some feedback. And there were parents and there were adult children. So I said, I just want to know, like, what are some challenges, as parents you have? And then the adult children, it's like, well, hold on a minute. Like,
Oh,
yeah, we
wow.
have these. So I got to get both perspectives, and I took notes. I did it for about 3 hours. And they were so gracious and kind to do that at a family function. And I thought, wow, look at this. There is really a gap here, and we need to figure out how to build the bridge. And so that's where the guided journal came out of. I wanted to be able to help parents of adult children, and not just with blank pages to write, although there are blank pages, but to guide them on different topics and things to say, hey, when this comes up, what does this bring up for you? And, here's one way you can kind of handle that. And so I did that. And then I'm so big on clarity, probably because I struggled with clarity. And so because I've always struggled with getting clear on things, I really said, let me dive into this and let me get clear and try to understand my why, my purpose, and all of that. And so I thought, well, if I'm struggling with it, I know there's other people struggling with it. And so I just said, you know what? I'm going to do a clarity workbook that's something people can write in, they can go through, that takes them through that process. And I actually did like a little beta group with some friends. I was like, I bribed them, said, I'll cook for you. I'm not the best cook, but I'll feed you, put it like that. If you come over and devote a couple of Sundays to me and go through this workbook with me and just give me your feedback. And they were like crying through the process and just like, oh my gosh, I need to get clear and this is where I am. And so that's how that was birthed.
Wow. Well, let's get into who this person is without the title. So, Shalanda, who is Shalanda for you? What is being Shalanda for you in the broader sense, in the non-title role sense?
Wow. What a question. Shalanda is passionate and compassionate. She's both. She's straightforward, yet she's very easy to talk to, very kind, very gentle. She's a helper. She's someone who wants to bring people together. She's hardworking. She's supportive. She's the hospitality queen. She's the hostess with the mostest. If you come here, I'm gonna make you feel good. I love being a friend, a mom, an encourager. I'm a daughter. Like, I'm funny, and I'm a person of growth. I always have been very passionate about growth and education and pouring into myself and investing in myself. So that's who I am.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Shalanda, what have been most defining moments for you as a business owner? And I want to make the context of you having, in our previous conversation, you won that contract with the state of Indiana through a competitive process. So like that's not an easy piece to win, right? For a state contract. But in those challenging moments and before, what have been one of the most memorable moments for you to say, this has been important in my life to get me to where I am?
Self-awareness has been major because I really had to learn who I was, and not who, because I'm like, I thought I was this person, but I'm like, okay, you need to get real clear on who you are, what your strengths are, what some of your areas of growth are, and who you were called to be, because a lot of times I played small and still do to some degree, to make everybody else feel okay. And I thought like, why am I called? Why is this on me? Since I was little, I'm like, I'm either going to be a therapist, a teacher, or an attorney. And then I said, or I'm going to be like Oprah, and I'm going to have my own show, and I'm going to talk to people, and I'm going to be Oprah. And I'm like, where did this come from? Because it's not like my parents were like, oh, honey, you're going to be this and that. They just supported whatever I did. My parents are the most amazing people. And so I had to learn, like, who are you and where did this come from? And I had to try to understand it because I didn't know why it was in me, honestly, and why I was chosen. And so once I got clear, like, okay, it's in you. This is your gift. This is your purpose. Then I have to overcome the challenge of other people kind of like, okay, well, what are you doing? Well, you're reading again. You're studying again. You're doing that again. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I am. And I actually enjoy it, so just kind of overcoming that. And then when I got into starting my first business with the learning center in the home, I was already working for being a program coordinator at a daycare center. And it was an amazing facility, amazing things taking place. And then something just jumped in me and said, I can do this. We can do this. I can get with a couple of ladies. We can do this outside of here. And it was like, where did that just come from? Like, why would I just think of that? Like, this stuff blows my mind. And then to see that I thought about it, we had meetings about it, and then we actually put it into play. And then we thought, where are we going to get the people from? Where are we going to get the families from? And we went up and started posting stuff in grocery stores and everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And we put little pull tabs, because this was back then. You didn't have all this, social media stuff.
Yes.
So we put the pull tabs where they would pull our phone number and call us. And and we were determined to change the stigma of home daycare, because a lot of people think, oh, they're just babysitting, they're just watching TV, laying on. We were like, no, this is a learning center. It's a learning environment. We take this very serious. We implemented programs. We did graduations. We did all of the things that you would do at a regular center. And we were very proud of that. And I watched that go for 8 years. And I'm like, wow, this was just a thought, a seed was planted in me. And then I got to watch it grow. And interestingly enough, after that, it's almost like I forgot that was even a part of entrepreneurship for me.
Wow.
Because then I went back to working for a company and being into a company. And after being in that company, I was doing school-based therapy. I loved it. A young lady said to me that she had applied for our RFP with the state of Indiana. And I'm like, what is an RFP? I don't even know what that means.
Oh,
and
my
she's like,
God.
it's a request for proposal. And she said, so if I get it, do you think you want to work part-time for me? And I said, well, what would I be doing? And she said, well, you would still do therapy, but you will go into the people's homes. And I was like, oh, no, I do not want to go into these people's homes. No. I'm like, I don't know what their homes are going to be like. I don't want to be in there. No, ma'am. And she said, well, think about it. She said, it'll be about $50 an hour. And I said, okay, where do I sign? And so I started doing that for her because she did get the RFP. And I started helping her and doing therapy for her for a period of time. And she said, you need to get your own. She said, you are so gifted and talented. She said, you really don't need to do this for me. You need to apply for your own. And so I said, I don't have any experience in this. She said, I didn't either. She said, but you can do this. You need to apply. And so the process of applying, as you said, you have to first wait till they post this. And so I waited for 2.5 years.
Oh
And
my
you're
God.
talking about losing faith to some degree. Every day I would go to the website. Every day, nothing. Then I would start going every other day. Then I would start going once a week. And then I would start going once a month to check. And then I was just like, okay, God, you don't want this for me. And I understand, it's okay. I was so excited. I had my name. I had my tax ID number. I had opened my business account. I did all the things. And I waited for 2.5 years. And one day she called me and said, it's up. I said, what? She said, go to the site right now. It's on there. And I went to the site. And so imagine waiting 2.5 years just for it to show up. And then you still have to apply and get approved for it.
Yes.
So I went through all the things of the process of trying to prove that I could be an agency that could do the things that other agencies were already doing. And they were also reapplying for the same thing. So it's not just the new agencies applying. The old agencies have to apply. So you're competing against the people that were already there, and you're competing against the people that want to get in.
And Shalanda, were you had a full-time employment at that time, right? As well?
I did. I did. Not only did I have a full-time employment, I was doing contract work for her. So I did my full-time job in the day, I did contract for her in the evening, and then I applied for this RFP. And long story short, it came up, I applied, I turned it in. Then you wait for them to post a list. And it's like when I tried out for cheerleading, when you go up after school and you look on the list to see if your name, if you made it.
How did you feel in that moment?
Redeemed. I'm like, okay, because I had so much faith, and then after 6 months, after a year and a half, after 2 years, it just started to fizzle, and I just started to say, well, this isn't what God has for me. And it was like, God was like, no, I just needed you to hold on. His timing is his kindness. And so at the right time, it came through. And I was like, okay, now what do I do? Like, I'm here. What do I do? I told them I could do this. What do I do? And they don't teach you. They don't train you. They just throw you right in there. And so I'm telling you, resiliency has been the thing for me.
So what happened then? Because you still had the job. Could you still hold your full-time job while doing this work? What did you do at that point?
Once I stepped out in November and decided to go full-time contract with her, with the young lady, 1 month later, they opened up the RFP. That's exactly what happened.
So Shalanda, you stepped into a 1099 and lost all these benefits of your work to go into an independent contract. And then the RFP came about.
1 month later, it was like God was waiting on me.
Wow, that's even more scary.
Oh my gosh, I was terrified.
So by the time the RFP came about, you already had your flexibility. And then what do you do at that point?
Then I'm like, okay, I have to have a staff work. I have to get a staff, and I knew I had a couple of friends that were already doing the work with other agencies, and they were going to transition with me if I got one. So they did. And then I'm like, where am I going to get the referrals? Because they don't know me. My agency's new. And that's still a problem to this day because I'm very small. And most of that stuff goes to the large, big, huge agencies. So we kind of have to fight and scrap for referrals. But
Yes.
God's been good. He sustained us for 4 years, and here we are.
Wow. So at that point is that you started your practice as well, your independent practice of therapy.
Yes. And that came about because when I was at the company doing school-based therapy, when you are paneled through insurance companies, your name is in the system. And so when I left there, I started getting all these calls like, hey, we need therapy. They're looking for an African-American therapist. And I'm like, how these people have my information? Then it dawned on me, I'm still under the insurance. And so I said, you know what? Maybe I should see what this is like over here. Let me take a couple just to see if this is something I want to do. And so I've been doing it ever since. Yeah.
Wow, Shalanda. And you said earlier when you were talking about the learning center and the seed that you had in your heart, and then you watched it grow, and then that replicated in your experience with as a contractor and then as an independent therapist. And you said your family's like, what are you doing? So tell me like how you got inspired, how you got motivated to do it once and then twice. And you talked about this person who actually pushed you to take the step. So tell us a little bit of like what has been important, crucial for you to continue in this journey?
Yeah, it's so interesting you say that because like I said, my parents are very supportive, but they don't push me to do anything. They just support what it is that I do. So I often wonder too, like, where did this come from? Where did I get this? And then I have a very close friend who is always encouraging me, always pushing me. And when I said, I don't want to leave the agency, she said, do you think that that God is that small, that's the only job that can give you vacation time or flexibility? She was like, God's not that small. It's a big God. So I was like, I know. And I would believe it for everyone else, but not for myself. And I had to start believing that what God would do for others, he would do for me. And so really just having a few good people in my corner that say, hey, you can do this. Hey, you have what it takes. Even when I don't really believe it. And I have those limiting beliefs and some imposter syndrome and some, problems with self-confidence at times. I have some people around me that kind of say, hey, no, we're gonna make sure, because we see in you what's inside of you, even in the times that you don't. And so I would just keep getting that encouragement, and that was so critical for me.
Wow, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. But I think we all can see places in our lives where we have been there, right? And somebody is seeing something in us that we haven't actually embraced fully, or are doubtful or fearful about it. So those people are so important. And Shalanda, for my audience and for those individuals who may be listening that may not have those individuals yet, what would you recommend them to do to get those people in their corner?
Yeah, so I know one thing that I've been really blessed just with the people that God has placed around me. But I know one thing that has really, honestly, helped me in this area was getting in the right room, getting in a community of like-minded people that are going in the direction you want to go. And one day I just saw something pop up from Darius Daniels, and I said, I want to be in this inner circle. And then it showed the amount, and I said, okay, I don't want to be in the inner circle yet. So then they had another program, and I'm like, I can do the Daniels then. And I just started getting in the room, and then I saw a coaching program. I'm like, I got in the room, and then I thought, everybody in here is further than me. They're smarter than me. They know more. They already have done this. And so I played myself small. Again, I go through these cycles. And but I still made sure I was in the room. And because I was in the room, even when I was playing small, people would pull me up and say, hey, you're so natural. They would just say certain things like, you just have this way. And I'm like, me? And they're like, yeah, and I'm like, okay. So I would tell people to find a room, a group, a space of like-minded people that are going in the direction you want to go. And you don't want to be the smartest person in your group. And I had to, I learned that. I'm like, I don't want to be the smartest person in my group. I want to be around other people that can pour into me and that could teach me. There's a time for me to be the teacher, but then there's a time for me to be the student. And that really helped me a lot.
Wow. And for my audience, Shalanda and I had the honor to be in the cohort where Shalanda was in training as coaches. So we both were being trained as coaches, and it is incredible, the power of community, the things that come through that. And then the Daniels Den, it's a membership program, and it's for personal, professional, spiritual growth. And it is filled, I'm not exaggerating, it is filled with amazing, wonderful minds. And like Shalanda said, we're all working towards the same. So that's a little bit of context to what Shalanda mentioned. And then Shalanda, in this, you've mentioned a couple of times that you go in cycles between being confident and then being doubtful and fearful. How has your vision and your dream for your own business evolved in this process of you being more confident and embracing these gifts and these talents that you mentioned before?
Yeah, my business, all of them could have been here a lot faster. I could have went further faster had I not allowed fear and limiting beliefs to get in the way. And what I talk about in the chapter in the book is just about how, at one point fear was driving the car and I was sitting on the side of it and we were just dating each other. I'm like, when did you fall in love? I fell in love at an early age because my parents would say things like, oh, don't do that, you're going to hurt yourself. Or, oh, don't go too far. But they were just trying to protect me. But I just started becoming afraid of everything. And so I don't have an adventurous bone in my body. Because my parents don't ride roller coasters, don't do this, don't do that. So I'm just like, ah. So fear just started taking root very early in my life, very early. And so I realized it started driving the car, and we were dating for a long time. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to drive the car, but it was in the passenger seat. And I'm like, okay, you're still, but at least I'm driving. Then I moved fear to the back seat. And then I put fear in the trunk Now, fear never left. It was in the trunk, but that old tricky fear came out of the trunk, got right back in the back seat. And that's what I mean about those
Mm.
cycles, because every time I try to step out and do something, I start thinking of all the things that are not going to work, and all the ways it's not going to manifest. But then there's something on the inside of me, that resiliency, that God factor that keeps pushing me. Uh, Even in the midst of that, I keep going. So it's my prayer that my businesses will, I want to scale my therapy business, that my coaching business, I will be able to do group coaching and things like that, so that I'm not doing all the one-on-ones, because my schedules are crazy. I do one-on-ones with coaching, one-on-one with therapy. I have my staff, and I have a contract with the state. So it is my prayer that I've just hired a couple people, and I'm so grateful, because I want a
Wow.
team around me. Yes, I'm so excited with my contract with the state, that want to help children and families, but also want to bring their gifts and talents to the table and say, hey, here's some suggestions. Here's some ways I can see we can grow. I really have been praying about this team, and I believe God has finally sent it again. It's been about 2-3 years that I've really been praying about it. So I'm just so excited to see where things are going to go with all three of my businesses, actually.
Shalanda, you mentioned before your purpose, your why, your gifts. Tell us what is that? And if you can tie it to, have you ever considered just throwing the towel and closing your business and going back to being an employee?
Wow, what a major question. Yeah, so I just went on a journey of like, finding my purpose. And I know I'm called to help. I know I'm called to serve. I know I'm called to coach, and to build people up, and to help people get where they want to go. I know I'm called to help people like me, who have it, but they just have some limiting beliefs that they need to overcome. And I still struggle with those. And I used to think that that's why I couldn't help people. I used to
Mm.
think that, well, I'm a parent of an adult child, and if my adult child disappoints me, then how can I help other people? Like I used to think that, and then I thought, everybody disappoints. I disappoint him. That doesn't mean I can't help other people. And so I had to get that out of my head, that just because I learned that that's what makes people connect with me, because I'm relatable, and I say, listen, I still deal with that. So I know exactly what you're dealing with. There's moments I struggle with that. And so with the business, especially my contract, this is, if I'm being transparent, this is the lowest we've brought in the 4 years. And that has been very challenging for me. It's been very discouraging. And uh, yeah, it's been a few times I've said, I just need to go and get a job. Even though I won't give that up, I still need to go get a full time job, because I have to live, I have to survive, I have to pay my mortgage. And it's like, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But it did cross my mind a few times. And it's like, I had a friend who owns a business, and he said, there's ebbs and flows, there's highs and lows when you own a business. You just hadn't hit this yet. And this is just a moment where you have to push through. And I hadn't hit it yet in the 4 years. And so he said, you're going to be all right. You just got to get through this. And so I'm in the getting through this season.
Wow, that's so powerful. And again, somebody just sharing some wisdom, right? To just encourage you to just keep pushing.
Yes. Yes. It's not easy.
But then what would be the consequence of you closing your business and your gift and your purpose? Like how would that impact the outcome?
Yeah. There will be many children and families that would not be blessed. And not that there are not other agencies that do it, but I believe there are certain people that are assigned to us. And we would miss those people that were assigned to us if I were to close it. Not only that, I employ people, which means I help people put food on their table. Not that they couldn't go somewhere else, but they're here for a reason, and they've been here for 4 years. So they have stuck through this thing for 4 years. I have a commitment and a responsibility to children and families, and also to my staff and their families, and also to myself and my calling and my purpose. So you're absolutely correct. It cost me too much to close it. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love that commitment. I love it. Um, so, Shalanda, you mentioned before this journey of self-awareness. How did you start this journey, and how, like, where are you in this process? Because I know that we grow until we go. So, where are you, and how did this start?
I was just going to say that I think it's a ever revolving journey. There is no end to it. But it started because I just started seeing things in me that I didn't know like where they were coming from. And I'm like, why am I so adamant about getting straight A's in school? My parents were never like, you need to get an A, you better get an A. And like if I got like a 93 instead of a 98, I'd be like, oh my God, why did I get, so much so that I got sick in my master's program and I was in the hospital. And one of the teachers gave me a B, and I had straight A's all through my master's program. And I said, you knew I was in the hospital. You gave me permission to turn this in late. And they said, yeah, but we still had to deduct points. And that's what brought it down. So I went to the board.
Oh my.
And my friend, like, you have a B, like, what's the problem? And I'm like, oh no, I have straight A's. I'm like, I went to the board. I had to do an appeal. I sat before a room full of people about appealing my grade. And so it's just like, there's always been something in me that has this high level of excellence, and I just want to strive for something. And I'm like, why? Where did this come from? I hear stories where people say, my parents forced me to do that. My parents were so hard on me. And that was not my experience. So much so that I used to be like, why aren't y'all hard on me? Like, why weren't you hard on me? They were like, you were hard on yourself. And I just didn't know where that came from. So I just wanted to learn more, like, why am I like this? Where does this come from? And I just started digging into me and just becoming comfortable with who she is, even though it's different from who a lot of other people that I was around. But I just started becoming comfortable with me.
That is awesome. And actually that ties to what you said earlier, where you had to manage the expectations of people and saying, you're doing this again, you're taking more classes again. So you pose that as a challenge. So tell us about that challenge as you grow.
My friends support me. They do. But I think sometimes I just look a little different. Sometimes we're on the phone and they may be saying, oh, well, look at this TikTok I sent you. And I'm like, okay, but I'm working. I'll get to it, and they're just talking. And sometimes I'm like, am I being cheated? Because I almost cheat myself out of a lot of things because I'm just so focused. But I try to make sure I still have fun. Like I'm going out of town tomorrow, for my birthday. And so I try to have a good balance. But I think what's strange for me is that this stuff is fun. Being in my office and doing the work, like it's fun to me. And I think for other people, sometimes they're like, even my parents will say like, well, you're doing too much, or, that might be a little too much. And I say, well, it might be too much if it were you, but it's not too much for me. This is just what I do. It's my lane. It's just, and I know everybody means well. So I think everybody comes from a good place. But it's like I know me, and I know what I'm focused on. I know what I'm trying to do, and I'm okay. Like I'm okay. So I had to be okay with that.
Yeah, so that's another piece of self-awareness right there, right? To just be okay with being different.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us when your birthday is, Shalanda.
My birthday is Thursday, August 24th.
Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to and have lots of fun in your trip.
I was supposed to be in Jamaica, but the way my bank account is set up, that did not happen. So I've really had to shift because with the business being low, I went from being able to do whatever, blessing everybody, taking care of my, doing stuff for my parents, my friends, to how am I going to pay my mortgage? And I just moved in this home, and so this was just being a real moment for me. And I know it's a trick to make me think, see, you should have stayed with your company, because at least you knew every 2 weeks what you had coming in. You knew every 2 weeks, this is what was coming in. You didn't have to worry about it. And so I try not to let myself go spiral down that path. But moments like my birthday, when I was planning to have all these big things going on, because it's a big birthday for me, um, it's a big one. And to see that I had to scale back, it's just been a moment.
Do you regret having left your previous employment?
Absolutely not. I would not go back for anything in the world. The freedom, the flexibility, the ability to make decisions for myself and not have to come up under someone else's decisions, the ability to be able to bless people and to have a staff that I can support and pour into, not just financially from the business, but just from things I learned. Whatever I learned, I'm taking back, I'm pouring into my staff. I'm so serious about their growth and development, and I wouldn't even have that opportunity if I was working for someone else. So no, I absolutely would not go back. Never.
Shalanda, what is one of the most proud moments of this journey as a business owner for you?
One of the most proud moments, obviously, was getting the RFP. But even just showing my son, setting an example for my son, that hey, you can do anything you put your mind to. If you work hard, you believe, and you do the things, and you let God do the rest. You control what you have control over, and you let God control what you don't have control over. Anything that's possible, and so being able to watch him watch me, which he always has, even when he was younger. Watch me be in school. He watched me graduate with my bachelor's. He watched me graduate with my master's. Watched me get my license for my therapy for my state, and then watch me get the RFP. Watch me do the daycare. Like that has been such a proud moment for him to see me as a single mom be able to do all the things, being a single mom. So I would say that's a pretty proud moment for me.
That's awesome. And what would you tell your son right now if he's listening? A message from Shalanda, businesswoman, to her son.
Yes, this is from your mom, son. Keep striving. Although challenges get in your way, roadblocks will come. Life will life, but God will God. So if you just keep pushing, you keep striving, you keep pressing, and you do what you're called and purposed to do, it's going to be all right. It's not going to be perfect. We're not looking for perfection, but you are called, you are gifted, you have purpose. I believe in you, and I cannot wait to see what God has in store for you.
Oh, that was so beautiful. What's the name of your son, Shalanda?
His name is Jalen.
Jalen. Jalen, those words were just for you from her heart. Shalanda, I'm going to take a turn here. Were you expected to be successful as a businesswoman?
Was I expected to be successful? I'm going to probably say yes and no. I think on one hand, I would say there's a two-hand approach. On one hand, I think if you talk to my parents, they would say, oh yes, because she's always a hard worker. She's all of the things. But on the other hand, there was a lot of fear from them of what if this doesn't work out, and what is she going to do, and how is she going to pay her bills, and we're going to have to pay her bills, which they have had to do sometimes. But I think so. I think on one hand they thought yes. On the other hand, there was a lot of like, ooh, what if something happens? And so now, with me being in this moment, I worry about what they're thinking. Although they give me everything's going to be okay, you're going to push through this, it's going to work out. I know they're stressing over there, like, oh, my baby's stressing and she doesn't know how she's going to do this. So I would say yes and no from them. And then from myself, I would probably say yes and no. Because a part of me knew, like, I feel like I was called to something big. But then there's another side of me that goes, is that you saying that? Or where did that come from? Like, how do you know you were called for something big? And then I'm like, I don't know. I just know. So a part of me thought yes. And then there's the side of me in the cycle that now says, okay, you should have been doing this, you should have been doing that, but you're allowing fear to get in the way. And so I'm trying to get out of the cycle.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for being so honest and vulnerable in this particular moment where you are as a business, and with all the moving parts. So I deeply appreciate that. Shalanda, in one word, how would you summarize your journey as an entrepreneur?
Ooh, in one word. Honestly, blessed. I have been blessed as an entrepreneur. I have been blessed. I wouldn't change being an entrepreneur for the world. Yes, there's moments, and I think sometimes, and thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable, because sometimes people just show one side of things, but there's always, it's two sides to a paper, two sides to a coin, there's two sides to things. And there's moments when it's great, and then there's moments that you have to push through. And I've had moments when it's been great, and I have moments where I'm pushing through. But at the end of the day, I am blessed and I would not change it for the world. So, to anybody that is an aspiring entrepreneur or is an entrepreneur right now, when you have those moments, it's okay. They come, push through. Because if we didn't have those moments of low, we wouldn't appreciate the highs. So, I think sometimes the lows come to remind us to appreciate the high moments.
That's a really good point. We wouldn't be able to appreciate it as much, right? And as grateful as, yes, that's so true. So perfect segue for my last question, Shalanda. For the women out there listening to this podcast and they are not sure about taking their next step on their entrepreneurial journey, what would you tell them right now from your experience?
Yes, the words of wisdom, which I learned from Pastor Darius Jenkins, is done is better than perfect, and to start. Because here's the thing, some people might say like, well, I'm too old, I'm already 40, I'm already 45, and okay, but start, because in 5 years, you're still going to be older, so you might as well be older doing something that you're purpose and called to do. So if you're going to be 50 anyway, which I will be Thursday, I'll go ahead and tell it.
I was like, are you gonna hold us in suspense on your big birthday?
Oh, yes, I'll be 50. So if I'm going to be 50 anyway, I might as well be 50 doing something I'm called and purpose to do. So I would say just start. And I'm talking to myself because I'm trying to do a challenge and things like that with my coaching program. And it's like, oh, is anybody going to come? But just start, because they're definitely not going to come if you don't start. That's one thing we know for sure. So I would just tell people to step out on faith. And sometimes when you step out, it looks like, okay, I'm out here by myself. Y'all told me to jump out here. What's going on? But it's like, hang in there. It will shift. It will turn. Go after what you believe in. Go after what you're called to do, because we were put here for a purpose and you have to fulfill it. It's not even an option.
I love it. I love it, Shalanda, because there's so much power in those words, more so because of the context that you just gave us, where you are as a business owner and that pursuit of purpose for your own. So thank you for those words of wisdom that are from firsthand experience and not just from somebody speaking from the side of the road.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for just allowing me to be open and vulnerable. And I'm pretty straightforward and vulnerable, but I'm like, I'm just me. So I just wanted to be open and honest so that people can see, hey, I'm blessed, but that doesn't mean I don't go through things. But it still works itself out. It always does.
That's beautiful. And with those words, dear audience, it has been my pleasure to listen to this amazing story of Shalanda as she turns into beautiful 50-year-old Shalanda with many dreams and things to complete in the near future. Happy birthday. Enjoy it. Have fun. Embrace it.
Thank you.
And to my audience, I told you it was going to be an amazing, incredible conversation. So join us for the next conversation of Unexpectedly Successful to hear the raw and genuine stories of wonderful businesswomen sharing their most authentic part of their journey with us. Until next time, more to come.